Welcome to Val's Sweet Kitchen. Subscriber Allison Janice asked for a spice cake. This is not your average spice cake. Matter of fact, nothing's average on this channel. It has a meringue and toasted walnut filling baked right in. And it is topped with whipped mascarpone cream. So, preheat your oven to 350 degrees and let's go have some fun. First, we're going to make the meringue and put it in a piping bag and set it aside so we can use the bowl to make the cake. You take 2 eggs and separate them outside of the bowl. That way, if a yolk is going to burst, it's going to burst in here and not in there. And whisk these on medium speed till it's nice and foamy. And then whisk in a tablespoon of cornstarch. Once that's all blended in, add 1 cup of brown sugar. And you want to pack that in. And turn it on high, and I added in 1 tablespoon at a time. That keeps it adding in slow enough so all the granules will dissolve as it whisks. Scrape all that extra sugar on the sides into the meringue because we want it blended evenly. All right, and you whisk this to stiff peaks. See, that's stiff peaks right there. And just put it in a piping bag and set it aside. All right, massage the bag, get out all the air bubbles. Doesn't really matter too much with this. There we go. No need to wash the bowl either, so that's kind of cool. I like that because who likes to do dishes? So you just take 2 cups of cake flour, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, a teaspoon of cloves, a teaspoon of mace, and sift that all together. I'm using mace because it's like nutmeg on steroids. Nutmeg is the actual nut. Mace is the aril, or the part that goes over top of it. Very, very spicy, very concentrated nutmeg taste. Told you this wasn't an average spice cake. All right, set this aside. Now cream 1/2 cup of butter, or 1 stick, and cream it till it's nice and fluffy. And I'm using the regular beater. This beats it a lot fluffier. And after 5 to 7 minutes, you'll see it turns a very light lemon color. Here it is compared to a fresh brick of butter straight out of the refrigerator. And then add 1 cup of brown sugar and pack it in there. And scrape down your beater and your bowl, because this butter can stick everywhere and hide. Now add a whole egg and your 2 egg yolks from earlier. Scrape down your bowl to make sure those yolks are thoroughly incorporated. All right, now we're ready to mix in our wet and dry ingredients. 3/4 cup of milk, whole milk, and the dry ingredients. You're going to start with the dry and end with the dry. And everything should be at room temperature when you start. That way it all blends together equally and smoothly and you get this wonderful batter. And scrape down your bowl You want to make sure everything gets fully incorporated without excess mixing. When you beat your batter too much, that's when gluten forms. And remember, gluten's for bread, not for cakes. And notice the batter is rather thick, but it's also very smooth. Here, I'll show you up close. Now that's what you want, very smooth and silky. Now I prepare my pans. I spray them with baking spray and put parchments in the bottom. And I use cake strips because what that does is it changes the baking process so that a dome doesn't form, and that's very important when we put the meringue on top. We're gonna pipe it right on top, so you want flat tops in your cakes as they bake. And pour it into your pans evenly, and then with an offset spatula, you want to smooth it around evenly around the pan. And pipe half your meringue in each. I use a turntable because it makes it easier. And don't worry if your meringue is not touching, it'll get thicker in the oven. Now sprinkle about a half a cup of walnuts on top of each meringue. Putting the walnuts on now will toast them as the cake bakes. And when you toast something, you can toast fruit. You've also toasted steaks, roasted them. That gives you the Maillard effect and brings out much more flavor. And then bake for 50 to 60 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. Now for the mascarpone whipped frosting, that's real easy. Take 16 ounces of mascarpone cheese, whisk that together, and then add about 3/4 of a cup of the cream to loosen it up. And then add 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, mix it around there a little bit, and add some of the cream. It'll loosen it up. The idea here is to whisk it all together so there's not any lumps while it's still thick, and then we're going to add the rest of the cream. So scrape down your bowl and make sure you've got all your powdered sugar whisked in with no lumps. And everything should be thoroughly chilled when you start. And then gradually add in the rest of your chilled, cold, heavy whipping cream. Also add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and you can add that anytime. And whisk that all to stiff peaks. See, that's stiff peaks. And now we get to pipe it onto the cake. I love piping. I'm using a Wilton 1M open star because you do have to pipe it onto the cake. And this way, all my frosting is using the same bag for when I go to decorate it. Maybe put some rosettes on top or a fancy swirl. This is crumb coating when you're just putting a thin, light layer of the frosting on top. The idea behind the crumb coat is to lock in the crumbs in this layer so that they don't come out in the final coat. That kind of looks cool naked, doesn't it? So I put it in the freezer for 20 minutes to let everything solidify and then decorate the top. And I just decided to do some rosettes. All right, that's beautiful. But that's kind of plain. Let's put some walnuts on top. And let's do a rosette right in the middle. And another beautiful cake. I hope you had fun today. If you did, give it a like, thumbs up, and subscribe, and boop that bell. Let me know what you want me to make next. Put your requests in the comments below.